Ever pondered a question that defies logic and reason yet remains unsolvable? Welcome to the world of paradoxes. Imagine, if you will, a realm where the usual rules of logic and common sense are suspended, where contradictions are the norm and unsolvable riddles are the order of the day. This is the realm of paradoxes. These are statements or problems that on the surface seem completely illogical or even absurd, yet they exist, and what's more, they remain unsolvable. A paradox is like a magic trick of the mind. It's a puzzle that challenges our understanding of the world and forces us to think outside the box. Paradoxes have a long history, stretching back to the time of the ancient Greeks, and they continue to baffle and intrigue the brightest minds today. They are found in many areas of life, from philosophy and mathematics to physics, and even in everyday situations. They are like the mental equivalent of optical illusions. They trick our brains into seeing things that aren't there, or into believing things that can't possibly be true. But why should we care about paradoxes? What makes them so fascinating and worthy of our attention? Well, paradoxes serve as a reminder that our world is not as simple and straightforward as it might seem. They challenge our assumptions, they force us to question our beliefs, and they push the boundaries of our understanding. They remind us that there are still mysteries out there, questions that we don't yet have the answers to, and that's exciting. In this video, we're going to explore some of the most intriguing paradoxes that continue to baffle the brightest minds. From the paradox of the barber who shaves everyone who doesn't shave themselves, to the paradox of Achilles and the tortoise, to the paradox of the ship of Theseus, and the paradox of the time-traveling grandfather, we're going to take a journey into the strange and fascinating world of paradoxes. Prepare to have your mind stretched as we delve into the enigma of paradoxes. Imagine a town where the barber shaves everyone who does not shave themselves. So, who shaves the barber? Welcome to the world of paradoxes, where simple questions can lead to mind-bending conundrums. Today, we delve into the barber's paradox, a classic example of a self-referential paradox. This problem was introduced by the brilliant logician Bertrand Russell in the early 20th century, who used it to challenge our understanding of set theory and logic. In the town we've just imagined, there's a barber. Now, the barber has a peculiar rule. He shaves everyone and only those people who do not shave themselves. A rather odd stipulation, wouldn't you say? But here's where things get really interesting. If the barber shaves himself, then he must belong to the set of people who do not shave themselves, according to his own rule. However, that would mean he doesn't shave himself, which contradicts our initial assumption that he does. On the other hand, if the barber does not shave himself, then he must belong to the set of people who do shave themselves, again based on his rule. But this too leads to a contradiction because we've assumed he doesn't shave himself. So, we're stuck in a logical loop. The barber can't shave himself and he can't not shave himself either. This paradox exposes the limitations of self-reference and the challenges it poses to logic. It suggests that not every question has a neat and tidy answer. Some problems, like the barber's paradox, thrust us into a realm of uncertainty. They force us to reconsider our assumptions and question the very foundations of our understanding. Paradoxes may seem perplexing, even frustrating, but they're more than just intellectual puzzles. They offer us a chance to probe the boundaries of logic and reason, to confront the mysteries of the universe and to grapple with the enigmas of existence. So, the barber's paradox leaves us in a logical limbo, a question with no solution. In a race between Achilles, the greatest warrior of Greek mythology, and a slow tortoise, who would win if the tortoise had a head start? You might be thinking that's a no-brainer, right? The swift-footed Achilles should easily outpace the tortoise. But this is where the paradox of Achilles and the tortoise comes into play, a philosophical brain teaser that has puzzled thinkers for centuries. This paradox is attributed to Zeno of Elea, an ancient Greek philosopher who was rather fond of creating paradoxes that challenged our perception of reality. In this scenario, Zeno imagined that the tortoise started the race 10 feet ahead of Achilles. Despite Achilles running much faster than the tortoise, Zeno argued that Achilles would never overtake it. Here's how it works. By the time Achilles reaches the point where the tortoise started, the tortoise has moved a little further ahead. So Achilles then has to cover that distance. But while he's doing that, the tortoise moves a bit more. This process repeats indefinitely. As a result, Achilles is always covering the distance to where the tortoise was, and never where it is. On paper, this means Achilles will never pass the tortoise, even though we know in reality he would. This paradox is not really about a race, or about Achilles, or even the tortoise. It's about the concept of infinity and the nature of motion itself. It questions whether an object can traverse an infinite number of points in a finite amount of time. It's a paradox because it conflicts with our intuitive understanding of motion. The paradox of Achilles and the tortoise is one of the many thought experiments that Zeno used to argue that motion, as we understand it, is an illusion. It forces us to question our understanding of concepts we take for granted, like distance, speed, and time. The paradox of Achilles and the tortoise forces us to question our understanding of motion and infinity. So the next time you're in a race, don't worry if you're up against a tortoise with a head start. You'll most likely win, unless you're in a Zeno paradox, that is. If you replace every part of a ship, is it still the same ship? This is the question at the heart of the Ship of Theseus paradox, a philosophical conundrum that has puzzled thinkers for centuries. The paradox is named after the legendary hero Theseus, who, according to Greek mythology, made long voyages on his ship. Over time, each piece of the ship was replaced as it wore out, until eventually not a single original part remained. Is it then still the Ship of Theseus, or has it become something entirely different? This paradox challenges our understanding of identity and change. We often consider objects and even ourselves as singular, consistent entities. But the Ship of Theseus proposes a different perspective, suggesting that identity may not be as fixed as we believe. Consider yourself, for instance. Cells in your body are continuously dying and being replaced. Over the span of 7 years, it's said that nearly every cell in your body will have been swapped out for a new one. Are you still the same person you were 7 years ago? Or have you, like the Ship of Theseus, become someone entirely new? This thought experiment is not just an academic exercise, it has practical implications in fields like conservation. If we restore an old building by replacing its worn-out parts, is it still the same historical monument, or has it lost its original identity? The paradox also extends to the realm of technology. With software updates and hardware upgrades, our devices are in a constant state of flux. Is your smartphone still the same device it was when you bought it, or has it morphed into something different? The Ship of Theseus paradox forces us to confront the fluidity of identity, the inevitability of change, and the ambiguity that comes with it. It nudges us to rethink how we define ourselves and the world around us. The Ship of Theseus paradox leaves us questioning the very nature of identity. What would happen if you went back in time and prevented your grandparents from meeting? This question leads us to the grandfather paradox, a concept that spins a fascinating web of questions around the very nature of time itself. This paradox is a thought experiment in the realm of time travel, a concept that's fascinated us for centuries, from H.G. Wells' Victorian time machine to the DeLorean of Back to the Future. So, let's imagine you've got your hands on a time machine. You decide to journey back to the past, specifically to a point before your grandparents met. Now, if you were to prevent them from meeting, they wouldn't have your parent, and consequently, you would not be born. But hold on a minute. If you were never born, how could you have traveled back in time in the first place? This is the crux of the grandfather paradox. It presents us with a timeline that's inconsistent, almost impossible. It's a loop of causality that can't be resolved, a chain of events that contradicts itself. Some theorists argue that this paradox proves that time travel to the past is simply not possible. Others suggest the concept of parallel universes or multiverses. In this theory, your actions in the past create a new parallel timeline, separate from the one you originated from. In this new timeline, you were never born, but in the original timeline, you still exist and were able to travel back in time, hence resolving the paradox. The grandfather paradox is more than just a quirky conundrum. It forces us to question our understanding of time, causality, and the universe itself. It shakes the foundations of what we perceive as possible and impossible. Time travel, as it stands, remains a concept of fiction, yet the paradoxes it presents continue to perplex and intrigue us. They urge us to explore, to question, and to imagine the unfathomable. The grandfather paradox leaves us pondering the complexities of time and its potential paradoxes. As we've explored, paradoxes challenge our understanding and stretch the boundaries of our logic. We've delved into the intriguing world of paradoxes, from the perplexing barber's paradox where self-reference and contradiction intertwine, to the age-old paradox of Achilles and the tortoise, questioning our notions of infinity and motion. We've navigated the waters of the Ship of Theseus, pondering issues of identity and change, and then ventured into the realm of time travel with the grandfather paradox, where causality and consequence become a tangled web. Each of these paradoxes, despite their complexity, invites us to question, to contemplate, and to engage with the world in novel and thought-provoking ways. But remember, in the realm of paradoxes, answers often lead to more questions. The journey of exploration is endless, the horizon of understanding ever expanding. Until next time, keep pondering the paradoxes of life.
Please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.